Welcome to the Movies and Stuff psychic review of Batman vs. Superman, everybody. I'm Abe, and joining me is the woman that knew I'd say that, the absurdly talented Sarah Soderlund.
Hello. I did know you'd say that.
Hey, so how are you, Sarah?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excited now. I'm really to talk some movies and talk some psychic phenomena. It's going to be awesome.
Let's get metaphysical.
All right.
Physical. Okay.
You've been around for a while, but you used to use an old moniker, the Paranormal Sarah.
Yes.
Now, nicknames are not always something that we like having. Are you still Paranormal Sarah, or is she long gone?
Well, Paranormal Sarah is still in there somewhere. But no, I think as I kind of matured, that name stuck with me when I was about 18, and I started doing national and international conferences. It just kind of stuck because everybody knows a Sarah. And Dave Schrader, actually, from Darkness Radio, gave that to me and introduced me as that once, and it stuck. And so I kind of stayed with it. I used it for a long time. But then as I started getting farther and farther advanced in my education, people would they would Google me and they would see this Paranormal Sarah. And, there's a taboo with that for the people who try to be more, up in the air about things. That can get kind of strange. And so I just kind of, I stopped using it proactively, but I think I'm still a little paranormal.
Yeah. I was reading that about you. You're actually a forensic psychology and parapsychology researcher. And you,
Right.
you specialize in how the scientific and the supernatural kind of merges together. Is that right?
Oh, if there is such a thing, I know skeptics everywhere are shivering. But
Right.
yeah, as far as forensic psychology goes, that's my passion. And I've always worked in parapsychology with the Parapsychological Association. And it's largely about kind of transpersonal psychology and consciousness,
Yeah.
and learning about how the consciousness can be more objective and measuring it. And you're hearing my slaughterhouse of children in the background. I apologize. Someone's
okay.
beating them. No.
If we ever need to take a break, it's fine.
No,
Okay.
it's real life. They're fine.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I was thumbing through your book, so I didn't have time to read the whole thing cover to cover. But the way you're able to blend different fields of study, it made me think about what you said about your mom. How she definitely had some religious beliefs, but she also incorporated other beliefs into there as well. Spirituality. She loved divination. Do you think you get that from her?
Oh, absolutely. And here's my shameless plug.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
But no, Haunted by the Abyss. The Abyss is it's my baby. It's my birth baby, and it really does illustrate a lot of what my mom gave to me, my grandmother, and really my sister as well. She's been a more applicable mentor. But divination was a big part of everyday life, like going out to the garden, what meal are we going to eat, what should we do. It was kind of like that Sheldon Cooper Big Bang show where he's got his die and he's tossing it out like a role-playing type of thing. That's how divination was utilized in our life growing up, and so a lot of it I get from my mom.
I gotcha. That's really, really cool. But you're also very scientific minded too, and that's what I mean by blending the fields. When you're investigating something paranormal, what I'm saying is there's a scientific method that's well documented. Is that how you feel you treat a paranormal investigation too when you're investigating things?
I try to be, yeah. I call
Yeah.
myself a skeptical believer. I try and be open-minded to perception and how important that is. For the paranormal, largely, the majority of it is rational, logical, and explainable. And you can use objective ways to go about your investigation to determine that it's not a banshee. It might just be branches outside on your sighting, and you just have to be open-minded to both the paranormal and the non-paranormal, but it goes both ways. So I think for me to be a well-rounded scientific researcher, I can't just remain a completely objective and say everything is science. I have to be aware that, some things may not be explainable or measurable or replicable in a laboratory setting. And some of that is the spiritual stuff and the paranormal stuff. So I try to be, but it's a good mix of both, I think.
Yeah.
It's a good Italian dressing.
Is it hard to separate, what's real from the bullshit, to be honest? I mean, is it a challenge? I mean, it seems like you have to go an extra step in your field to
You
trust
know, when
trust
you're
but verify. Yeah.
when you're working in the paranormal realm,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult because when you find yourself surrounded by people who want so badly for something to be paranormal,
Yeah.
trying to be objective is difficult. And then when you step into the realm of, doing a lecture or trying to present or publish evidence in a realm that's very scientific, it's difficult to talk about things of the metaphysical because everyone's gonna, close down like a clam and not be willing to listen or be open-minded to how that works. And so in that respect, it's kind of difficult to blend them because going to a location or going somewhere where it's already a mix is very unlikely. Usually you're walking into a case where someone believes wholeheartedly that they've been possessed by a demon and they're pulling a Linda Blair, or you're walking into a situation where individuals are already certain that your evidence is fabricated. So you kind of have to be able to work both tables.
Oh wow, and so Linda Blair. You made me think. Have you witnessed actual possession?
I believe I have in just one instance.
Yeah.
I think that possession is so difficult for me because then that would imply that I believe with a certain amount of certainty in a spiritual realm and conscious, demonic things. And I do,
Right.
but I don't necessarily know for sure what the intentions are. But in my book, I do kind of share one of the scariest experiences of mine, which was an exorcism. Now, I couldn't be a part of the actual exorcism because they don't allow for that if you're non-clergy. But I did get to go in before, and I also got to go in shortly after the exorcism. And being a part of that experience heavily influenced my mostly yes to that answer.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously you're an author. What other services do you offer to people out there?
Well, no, well, as a forensic psychologist, I'm working with a demographic of violent individuals, and usually that's not in a setting where they're speaking for themselves. That's out of necessity. But I do offer services through hypnosis, hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behavioral training. I do a lot of kind of life coaching in a sense for individuals who are struggling with what I call alternative therapy needs. So it can be alien abduction regressions, it can be conspiracy theory, paranoia, stress-related compulsions, mental health-related issues that don't always fit the modern medical model. Individuals that think reptilians are coming, or you've got individuals who believe they're possessed, or maybe their family has gone through an exorcism, but they want something additional to the church and what the church provides as far as therapy. So I do a lot of alternative therapeutic measures in that respect. And then, of course, I do writing. I do a lot of writing. I love writing and speaking and things of that nature. So
That's cool. Yeah, you're clearly absurdly literate.
well,
Yeah.
I try to be.
Yes. Well, when you're not reading and writing and I guess diagnosing violent people, are you a movie fan at all?
Oh my God, I love movies. My favorite part of the day
Yeah.
is when I can get my children to bed, and they're 3 and 1, so this is like a delicate game. And you do the Matrix move, and hopefully they don't wake up. And you go out into the living room, and my husband and I take advantage of that every night to try and watch a movie or a series that we really like. And of course, then we sit and we have our adult beverage and we discuss it thoroughly, and then go to bed. And so that's kind of my adult time, and it's usually I would love for it to be spent reading, but we typically are watching a movie.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a big movie goer.
Nice. Anything in particular that you are digging right now, or the movie that you saw
Well,
lately?
right. Well, recently we watched. I watched the recent 007. I hadn't been caught up on that, so I watched the recent 007 movie, and then we're watching the Shannara Chronicles because my husband's a huge Terry Brooks fan.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
so we're watching that, and we're really struggling through it. He's not on board with it 100%. So
Yeah.
we're trying to get through that. But I'm kind of I'm excited about a bunch of movies kind of coming out and trying to stay on top of them all. It seems like as an adult, I don't get to have as much fun as I want. But
Yeah, right.
I'm trying. I'm really trying.
That's a grown-up life.
Ant-Man. Yeah. I saw Ant-Man recently, and I loved that. I thought that was underrated. I'm a huge Paul Rudd fan, with the exception that he went to KU.
Yeah.
I loved Ant-Man. I thought they did well with that.
Well, you're a Kansas City woman, aren't you? I mean, that's.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm an MU, Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's where I'm calling you from. Actually, is Kansas City as well. Yeah.
No way! Snap.
Yeah.
Hey man,
There
Kansas City.
Well, since you at least like some comic book movies, I brought you on to talk about Batman v Superman. I wanted to know that if a huge portion of the population, well, not huge portion, thousands upon thousands of people are going to watch this film. I want to know, using your gifts, or I guess I should say skills, what can we learn about the movie beforehand?
Well, that's difficult. So for me, I think the funnest thing, especially visually, is I'm going to do a few divination tools for that. I think I want to go to the cards and the bones and show you a little bit of divination and how that can be a visual fun thing. Because for me, I'm a really big comic book fan. I'm more of a Marvel person than I am a DC person. And I must say, for those of you listening, I'm not a Ben Affleck fan. I went as far as Mallrats with him, and then our relationship was over. And so this Batman versus Superman, it's really hard for me not to talk completely biased, because, I'm still like faster than a speeding bullet. And I like the old Superman, and Batman. I really like Christian Bale because of the whole Batman as this spoiled rich kid with psychosis going on. I think that Christian Bale played that well. And so I don't know what to expect from this movie, and I've not seen the trailer yet, but just because Ben Affleck is a part of it, I already have some of my own personal bias. So we're going to turn to the cards, if you will.
Okay.
So let me do something unique for anybody watching. I assume you're watching. I want to do Kanzari cards. Have you ever heard of Kanzari cards?
No. What is it? What are they?
Okay, so Kanzari cards, I actually met up with the creator of these at Dragon Con. When he learned that I was Paranormal Sarah, he pulled these out of his pocket. He's a photographer, Mr. Paul Kane. And the Kanzari deck is a deck that it's mostly made up of really crazy visuals. And they're just really... They're supposed to be a cross between a Ouija board and a tarot card. And I have had a lot of fun with them. So let's pull a few. Ooh, okay. I pulled two.
Okay.
Because I like Superman, Batman. So I'm going to stick with two. That's my theme.
There we go.
Okay, so for the first card, I'm going to hold this up so you can see it. Can you see that?
Graveyard.
That's good, right?
I guess so.
The first card, Graveyard. Okay, and down here we've got a C and a skull. So that could be symbolic of an early grave. I don't know. Or the movie perhaps being representative of the rating scale that they use. I know it's not Siskel and Ebert. That might date me, but Rotten Tomatoes, maybe it's going to be a C. So I'll go with that.
Oh.
And a skull, well, I mean, it's not hard to say the symbolism there is mortality and death. I hope that's not the case for this movie. I want it to go well, but the Graveyard is not good for the box office, typically, I wouldn't say.
Oh.
So we'll say it's not going to be a box office smash.
Okay.
It might just be a subtle sleeping giant. Let's pull another one here. Okay, this one.
Hallway with an L.
The hallway with an L.
And some sort of symbol.
That's the Eye of Horus.
Oh.
Okay. So you've got a hallway adorned with the Eye of Horus and the letter L. I like to consider the L, whenever I'm looking at these, as the Roman numeral 50. I'm thinking that's 50.
Right.
50?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty impressive. The 50, I'm going to say, I don't know anything about what movies make anymore. I'm going to say, man, they're probably in the millions. I'm going to say 500,000. Let's say 500,000 because I see the 500,000 for the opening weekend.
I think it'll be a little bit more than that.
I don't know. We're asking the cards here,
Okay.
man.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to argue with the cards. Yeah, but
don't argue with the cards, man. And let's do, L. If we're not just doing 50 or 500, let's take it to the next thing. L can mean what? It can mean large. It can mean left. It can mean sinister. It can mean leader. It can mean low. It can mean in sports. That's an L. That's a loss. Uh-oh. Okay. So we're just going to put that out there. It doesn't necessarily look terribly good for the success of something as far as a movie goes, but the Eye of Horus is unique.
Yeah, what does that
mean? That's the well, of course, that's the Egyptian symbol for protection, royal power. The Eye of Horus is really important for the royalty in the Egyptian realm, but it also means good health. Typically, you had the Eye of Horus adorned to those individuals who were in good health. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that to the fact of our leading men, Batman and Superman. I'm going to say they're going to have the Eye of Horus for protection, power, and good health. So let's just go ahead and assume that neither one of them dies.
Yeah, I think I like that.
That's a good assumption, though, right?
I think so, yeah.
So I'm going to apply that to those two guys rather than the movie. I'm going to predict that no one dies. And the hallway is a symbol of transition. Typically, when you're doing like dream interpretation, if you have a hallway or you're walking down a hallway, it's symbolic of self-exploration. So I'm going to say maybe this movie is mostly about going through transition, maybe a transition phase for DC, maybe a transition of the madness against Marvel. Maybe it's even a transition for the characters. I'm going to say it's definitely not going to be a standalone movie. The hallway would suggest journey. So there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
Do we have time for more? I want to do a few.
Sarah, I've got as much time as you have. We can go all night. I don't think.
Hey, man, let me take another sip of coffee then.
There you go.
Okay, so then next I want to do the most popular form of cartomancy, the tarot card. Everyone loves tarot cards.
Yeah.
And if you're going to see a soothsayer, if you're going to go see a psychic, they better have tarot cards. That's like going to see a plumber without a butt crack. It's just one of the tools we have. I really like the Gateway deck. I'm going to show you my Gateway deck so I can. It's really a cool kind of the visuals on this. And for anybody interested in tarot, if you don't have a deck of your own, you can always get just the basic deck, the Traveler's deck. But I like to go, and I'm such a visual person. I love looking at the pictures. And when the pictures kind of speak to me, then I know that it's the right deck. And so for me, this had a hedgehog and a manta ray and some keys and ravens and like all that stuff that I kind of like. So I totally went for that deck.
That's an important part of the tarot and the reader, right? That you connect with your deck. You can't.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not just going to pick up a random deck anywhere and.
Right. It's a relationship item. So it's like dating a person that you can't stand looking at. I mean, you don't want to like puke in your mouth every time you lean in for a kiss. If you're using something intimately, you want to love it. Yeah. So yeah, you've got to have a connection with it. Cool. Okay. So again, let's pull two cards here. Okay. Meh. This one's a little better. This one's a little more positive. This is the 9 of Coins. So for those of you who have studied hard on your tarot book, I started with playing cards. They were never this visual. But I love to just like I would do in a profile for somebody, or if I'm doing behavioral profiles, I just describe the card. This has got a really beautiful chick on it. So obviously I'm sure there's some beautiful chicks in the movie, but on a deeper level, this is a really affluent card. This card is really about illustrating like this uninterrupted panoramic view of the world and beyond. It's about a storm and the aftermath of a storm, and there kind of being this very peaceful, calm, comfort, and serenity. And so I'm going to say there's going to be a lot of conflict, but then there's going to be like this really calmness, and it's going to be very affluent in a way for a movie, long-term success. long-term success, it'll stick with people, literally meaning a lofty goal. It's really intellectual, very spiritual. It's about meditation and perception and illustrating the success of the movie being long-term. So that's a good thing. And affluent, I mean, it's probably going to be very beautiful. I never, you know, I don't think Ben Affleck is very beautiful, but I imagine the graphics are going to be wonderful. It's got a peacock on there. Maybe we'll see a lot of bird or flight or neat graphics with flying things. It's Batman, obviously, so that's not a stretch. But there's a lot of water in this card, so it's a very spiritual card. Let's do another card. Let's pull another one. Ooh, this is like the death card, only it's the Hanging Man. This is one of my favorites. The Hanging Man is so cool because you kind of get like the Joker or the Jester, but the Hanging Man, which is the number 12 in the deck, it suggests several visual puns, imagery, visual illusions, but it's all about midpoint. It's about hanging in a midpoint, being halfway there, being halfway through your journey, having a different perspective. You could be hanging this way or you could be hanging this way. It's really about balance and equal halves. So that tells me that you've got Batman and Superman. As a viewer, you're assuming there's this conflict, but this card would suggest that there absolutely has to be a togetherness. There has to be an equal balance, that there's going to be a journey of conflict, but a change in perception. There's going to be a change in mental perception. The history of this card actually is Odin and that the Nine of Coins. He's dropping money, and so he's letting go of money. It's all about letting go of the material things. So maybe Bruce Wayne loses all of his money, or maybe his everything that he knows to be his in the material world he has to let go of. I would even maybe suggest in the plot that he isn't able to get to like Alfred and his tools or something, or that Superman has a complete change and shift. Maybe there's a different kind of kryptonite or something. But it's about letting go. It's about letting go. And 9, Odin dangled in this position in purgatory for 9 days. So the number 9 comes into play. I don't know how 9 would come into play.
I don't yet either. No, I don't.
I don't get anything there, but that's something to mention about that card. That's kind of a cool. So I want to read the meditation for this card on the back of all of these cards. There's a meditation because I think it's really cool. It says, you must look within you must look within for value. You must look beyond for perspective. Oh. Ooh. So again, I don't think that this is going to be a huge box office hit. I don't think there's going to be a lot of money, but I think that there's going to be a shift in perspective, especially for a lot of the long-term fans, maybe the comic book fans. You're going to get some martyrdom. You're going to get some letting go. You're going to get some spiritual experiences from the characters that maybe have not been a part of the plot before, which for me would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And then I want to hit you one more time here with another fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just because if you're going to have Paranormal Sarah on the show, you got to really know what I love doing here. This is my favorite divination tool. Yeah, this is my box of bones. I would like to think not every psychic has this in their tool belt, but I love my bone set. So runes, kind of an ancient form of divination. Runes in the Bible, throwing lots. Runes in willow, tossing the bones. Runes are kind of popular. You can find them in your everyday metaphysical store. Usually they're little fur Nordic looking things. They're supposed to be on bone, but PETA and all that jazz. So usually if you find it on eBay, it's going to be plastic. Which is not the same. You need flesh and blood, okay?
Are we getting into dark magic here? Or dark? Yeah.
No. But no, it's supposed to be organic. It's the idea that, especially in my culture, which is Sinti, a little bit of Sinti Gypsy and a little bit of Cherokee on different sides of the family, it's all about being organic, about using the tools that you have near you. You don't need to go buy runes. If you're a plumber or you're an engineer or you're a musician, use piano keys, use nuts and bolts. You can use whatever you want. If you've got a little hacky sack full of ammunition, bullets, and a little mojo bag of something, or even I've been known to use the dashboard console in my car that's got pennies and knickknacks and stuff like that. And it's all about divination's all about getting information from the divine through the physical realm, and it doesn't matter how you do it. So bones for me has always been really fun. I started this set my senior year of high school. I won't tell you when that was, but we had to do an anatomy class. We had to dissect the cat. I think many people can identify if you did anatomy. Some people did a pig or whatever. We did a cat. And for extra credit, which I desperately needed, you could stay after class and reconstruct the skeleton. But you had to boil the bones, which has ruined me for eating Jell-O forever. Oh. And then you get to keep it when you're done. So I started with cat bones that I did myself because I didn't want to just throw it in the trash. And I thought, oh, well, I could use this. And so through Renaissance festivals and going to the Lake of the Ozarks and my dad's hunting trips, I've kind of acquired all these cool bones, and I just draw on them. So I just pulled one that is speaking to me. Okay. Really all that means is I just grabbed one. It's the same thing as looking through your old CD packet in your car. Maybe you're just in the mood for, AC/DC. Maybe you're in the mood for Duran Duran. Just whatever strikes you. So this one strikes me. I'm going to hold it up here. If you are watching and know what this is, you might be a little paranormal, or you might just be a veterinary technician, or maybe you've scared a few of these off of your porch or ran them over with your car. This is a possum vertebrae. Oh. The opossum is a unique creature for me. Again, I profile the way I would profile a person. I just kind of profile the energy. I describe the energy, and so that's describing the scenario. So since we're talking about Batman versus Superman, this is not even though I would logically say it's a very masculine movie, the possum isn't very gender specific. Like when you look at a possum, you're not going like, oh, that's clearly a male possum or clearly a female possum. Like they're not, you just don't do that. They're a very gender neutral kind of an animal. They're not overly attractive. They're not overly useful. They're not like a predatory tiger that's held in high regard. The possum is just there. And the possum, I think everybody's familiar with the possum, but it doesn't, strike a chord. People aren't really scared of them like they are rats, even though they're kind of the rodent. But people also aren't going to like run up and pet it like they would a koala, even though koalas are, more hateful than a possum. Possum just rolls over and plays dead. So I think in that respect, kind of this movie, maybe it may not strike people immediately, but I think maybe it's going to speak to the cards that we pulled earlier. It's more of a spiritual kind of change in perspective that you sit down, and maybe the first time it's not the greatest, but maybe the second or third time you watch it, you're like, oh, I really get something out of this. It's really going to grow you as a fan. I have 13 vertebrae, and I number them all. This is number 11, which I like. I can see why that spoke to me, because 11, you got 2 ones. That's the pair. It's that Aquarius, the water symbol, the harmony, the 2 together. And so you've got the Batman and the Superman. There's going to be a togetherness. There's definitely going to be one is not going to prevail over the other, and I don't see one dying. It's going to be very fair, like the Hanging Man. It's going to be a balance. It's kind of going to be this balance in a lot of different ways. Maybe one is going to be more physical to spiritual, and then they're going to weigh each other out in a way that you've never seen these characters before, and it's going to create a harmony that's unique. I don't see that there's going to be a lot of like love sex scenes, because of the possum is very gender neutral, not sexy creature. So I don't see like any Barry White chiming in. But there you have it.
That's really cool.
a little divination for the moviegoers.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So what questions do you have?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think you hit upon all of them. I mean, you touched on plot, or maybe not plot, but theme. What the cards are
Okay.
saying. We touched on box office. We touched on audience perception. I think that's. I mean, that's. I think you covered every base. Just pulling cards. That's really cool.
The cards never lie. But I think what's really interesting for me as a fan,
Mhm.
because now that I'm kind of putting them in their bag, I can kind of step away. I've always loved Batman, probably more than Superman. I don't know if that's just the generation. The generation before mine really was the opposite. They loved the Superman more. Um, It'll be interesting to see if there is a Bruce Wayne without all of his toys, or if there is a Superman without all of his powers. I would like to see how they balance that out. I'm kind of interested to see who the opposing force is going to be. With the Eye of Horus and this protection and royalty and a lot of deity, like godlike things, I would almost say that Superman is going to be more of the star of the show, but it's hard to say. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'll be excited to see, though, because you're going to have to keep me posted, because I'm just going to be reading the reviews. I've got two small kids, so I can't go to the opening movie.
Right, right. You put those things away for now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that person that goes to the movie, which happened recently when I went to go see Star Wars, which was sad. Both the movie and someone bringing their child to it.
Oh.
So I am not going to be that parent. So you've got to keep me posted on the accuracy of the divination.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, we will. Just be so much fun. So, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, or just see what else you're up to, where would they be able to find you, Sarah?
Well, if you're in the northern area, this May I'm going to be speaking at the Paradigm Symposium. That's like there with all the ancient aliens history people, which will be fun. If you're in the Midwest, I will be in Kansas City, Missouri in October for the Psychic Metaphysical Fair, and I'll also be in Alton, Illinois at the 20th anniversary Troy Taylor True Crime Haunted America Conference. And that's in June.
That's a long
And
title.
then-
That's a long title on that one.
Well, if you're a true crime fan,
Yeah.
Troy Taylor's written it's like 84 books or something stupid. I don't even know how he's a vampire. I don't know how he lives that long and writes that many books. But they're fantastic. And then, of course, if you're in the South, I'm going to be at Dragon Con. I'll be speaking there and will be a guest at Dragon Con. So you'll find me on some kind of a panel there in September. Or you can just Google. If you're like a Matrix fan or a social networking stalker, Paranormal Sarah is my handler on like Instagram. I take a lot of food pictures. I'm that girl. Or if you're on Twitter, I offend a lot of people. I'm kind of sarcastic. If you're on Facebook, I post a lot of conspiracy theory stuff and MUFON, aliens, like the Dark Side of the Moon, NASA sounds recently, and I do a radio podcast too. That's more of a psychology thing on Thursday nights, where we do neuro-linguistic programming and we get into your mind, and that's kind of fun. So if you're a psychology fan, you can go there, or sarahsoderlund.com. If you're just like, shut up already and give me the website, it's sarahsoderlund.com.
Cool. And we'll definitely have all the links down below in the description.
Yeah, somewhere
cool.
down there.
Well, Sarah, I know this was an odd request, and I do want to thank you so much for, taking it seriously. Yeah.
Well, yeah, as serious as one can, and I really appreciate it because, well, no, I appreciate it because it is fun, and as far as divination goes, it's not always like done in the moonlight with chicken blood. You
Not
can use it in
always.
everyday stuff, and it's not always satanic. Lucifer takes a day off, and we have fun with it, and it's not scary. It's fun, and so yeah. It's an honor to be on the show.
Oh,
Thank
cool.
you so much.
Oh, yeah. You were an absolute delight to talk to.